Welcome to Joshua Tree Reptile Haven, the coolest backyard in the world.
The Epps family has achieved something incredible. In just 1 year, they've rescued over 105 turtles from across the country. Now they're making sure these animals are happy, healthy, and thriving in their new homes. Today, I'm visiting their desert sanctuary to learn just how they made this dream a reality. We're also going to have a picnic for the third largest tortoise species in the world, the Sulcata.
Oh, he's a good boy. He's a good boy.
It's a good boy. It's a good boy.
I'm Douglas Kalajian, and this is Creator Radar. It's so great to finally meet you.
We are Joshua Tree Reptile Haven. We focus on tortoise and turtles because of the lack of homes for them. There's all kinds of rescues that rescue tortoises, but they don't provide them homes.
Right.
There's nobody that provides the homes. Every rescue that we know of takes tortoises in and then rehomes them. Well, that only works if you have enough people willing to take the tortoises. The equation, you have to take in just as many tortoises as you can find homes for. And if you're not finding homes, then you can't rescue tortoises. And so that was really the big thing for us, is that we had the land, we have the Joshua trees, you know, the natural terrain. We live in California where the California desert tortoise is endangered. And we knew that long-term housing was needed. That's what nobody provides. And so we said, well, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Last year in about July, August, September, somewhere around there, and we were like, okay, this is happening, like this is what we're gonna do. It was just rocking and rolling from there. And that, it's grown. We went from less than 5 tortoises to 105 tortoises now.
Oh my gosh.
In a year.
And is that grown into like a full-time job for you guys? Is it like you're
absolutely.
waking up and first thing you're thinking about is tortoises?
We're asleep and we're thinking about tortoises.
If a turtle can be a turtle, you can't really ask for much more than that.
Yeah.
The opportunity for an animal to be what it's supposed to be. Now, for us, that means the best, as in they get heated houses or special foods. You know, we're not feeding them dog food because it's cheaper by the bag. We buy the most expensive. Now that's what we want to do. But in essence, that's what it is allow the animal to be what it's supposed to be.
Without experiencing suffering conditions.
All of us have had suffering one way or another in our lives. And we can all, I think, agree that that's no way to live. That's not a life. And because of the lack of care and long-term housing for tortoises, they just suffer. That's all they do. Everywhere we turn, it's a tortoise suffering.
Right.
For instance, you know, everybody's familiar with Tim and Harold, 30 years on a roof. That was suffering. And so if we can make it to where that is never a part of their life, or even in the equation of their life, it's never going to happen, then I think that's the best. So the most common thing that happens is people will get this cute little guy at a pet store for $100, and the pet store may tell them that, hey, this is going to get big, it's going to get over 100 pounds, and they think, oh, well, by the time he gets that big, we'll figure it out. Well, then when he gets that big, like Tim is here, and starts destroying the roses or the lawn furniture, then they say, no, we can't do this, we've got to get rid of him. So one of the most common reasons why a sulcata needs to be rehomed is size. And what happens is the people, when they see this at the pet store, they don't love it yet. Once they have it for a couple years and they fall in love with it, and they want the best for it, and they realize, I can't give it the best here, I just can't do this. Whether it's digging up their backyard because they're not providing what is needed, they just say, no, you know what, we've got to let them go. And as Amanda said earlier, they love them enough to let them go.
So this is baby Alex.
He was found walking in an industrial park area in Las Vegas as a hatchling 6 months ago.
So he was only a day or two old when they found him. And what that is that somebody had a male and a female in their backyard and allowed them to breed. Then the babies just hatch whether they knew it or not, and the babies just go out, wander like they would naturally. Well, they get out of the backyard and now they're on the road. So we've had tortoises from a dozen states now shipped to us. Maryland, Massachusetts, Florida, Tennessee, Illinois, Kentucky, Virginia.
And we do not charge to have them surrendered either. A lot of places will, but we don't. The important thing is to get the tortoise and help the tortoise. Sometimes there are families who need to surrender their tortoise, but they don't necessarily have the funds to send it overnight. And so we'll help out with that as well.
It's very common, somebody financially can't take care of a tortoise. Well, then it makes no sense for us to go, oh, well, then your tortoise can't get helped. Well, we're here today to pick up a blind tortoise and give it comfort, safety, and a forever home. I'm doing good.
Good to see you.
This is Douglas.
Oh, hi. So he'll have an enclosure all by himself.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it won't be, he'll have shade and stuff.
Yep. So what we're thinking is we were gonna start off with a 8-foot by like 16-foot area that is gonna be part of a 25 by 50 foot, but that way he can get comfortable in that space, and then we just open it up. So we don't know if he's gonna even feel comfortable in a normal sulcata pen. Because you want to give the bigger ones bigger spaces to walk, but if he can't see, is he going to be just stressed out if he just walks and walks and walks and never runs into something? You know how old he is?
No, I don't. The gentleman, his owner had him since he was a baby, got him at a pet shop, and the owner had a stroke or he died or something. He became incapacitated, and so the brother's taking over his estate. And his animals and stuff like that. And this guy, and luckily he did fine because nobody would take him. None of the rescues, nobody would take him because he's blind, and so he's going to need extra care. And so I think I'll be very careful about who I adopt him out to. And so thank you so much for being able to take him, and he'll be there forever.
And if any of those other rescues would have took him, you wouldn't have got him, and then we wouldn't have got him.
Yeah.
So it worked out exactly how it needed to work out.
You're right.
So 1 turned into 4. Hey, it was good seeing you again. How crazy was that? So he does have eyes. That's what I was wondering, if he has eyes.
How do you know that he's blind?
So I'm not sure. So this is cool that you got to be there, because the interaction between us and then the person that we get it from, they only have limited information. And the old thing, if you start to tell a story at the beginning of the school bus, by the time it gets to the end of the school bus, it's a completely different story. So there's not that many people in the line with this tortoise, but it's hard to put the pieces together of how their life was or how they even lived life. A lot of the tortoises, we don't know anything but what we just walked up on, or what just walked up on us. And so that was the first thing I wanted to see was, does he even have eyes? So that's gonna be 3 more girls for the girls group that we have. And then these 3 girls, you guys are gonna be chauffeured in the back seat. So Tim and Harold are our most famous tortoises on YouTube, and we got called on New Year's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you guys went down to rescue them New Year's Day?
The next morning.
The next morning.
Wow.
They contacted us, I think it was like probably 4 or 5 o'clock on New Year's Day, and we were there at 7 a.m. the next morning.
6:45, because if you're not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late.
Yeah.
But we told the gentleman he had tried to contact other rescues and nobody would help. And we said, we'll be there before the sun comes up. And he thought we were full of it. And sure as pancake batter makes pancakes. We were there at the gate calling his cell phone saying, okay, hello, Tim, we're here.
And there were 2 large, very large tortoises on top of the condo that this gentleman lived in.
These tortoises had never seen land. They had never seen a horizon. They had, they were on a 2-story roof for 30 years. Wow. They'd never eaten grass. They lived on ceramic tile.
There we go. Woo! You guys are amazing.
Hi, buddy. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
These guys have been up on top of that roof for over 20 years. You get to go live in paradise now. Yeah, he's a handsome boy.
This is Tim and Harold's enclosure. This is actually going to get extended 40 feet. So when we first started with them living here, we started with a very small enclosure because they came from the roof.
Right.
And we didn't want to give them something gigantic that just caused stress or fear because they had never seen anything bigger than a 8-foot by 15-foot area,
yeah.
something like that. And this has worked really well. They've learned now they can graze naturally like they should.
And they're using the entire perimeter.
Yeah, and they're walking taller, so we
Yeah.
don't have to worry about them getting too far away from the house
Right.
and being tired or anything. So, boom, it's going to get bigger.
Was it an adjustment for them to come onto the property for the first time?
Oh, absolutely. When we built their house, they would only for the first month come out to like right here.
Yeah.
So you're talking 3, 4, 5 feet outside of their house, and then gradually they started going further and further as they had a lot of bad things in their intestines. They weren't fed. They started eating styrofoam on top of the roof. So we had to go through a process of getting that flushed out of their system, and then you could really tell when the system was clear because they were all over the place, grazing. I mean, totally different tortoises. It was amazing. They're walking proud, and they're grazing naturally, which is something that they do. And so it's really a huge difference to see what they were when we brought them home till now. And in such a short period of time. You would have never imagined that a couple months ago, 3 months ago, that they would have been in the condition that they were in versus now.
So they're from the southern edge of the Sahara Desert, but they are not a desert tortoise. That's what everybody thinks. Oh, they're from Sahara Desert.
Yeah,
No, they're from the edge of the desert, and on the edge of the desert is grasslands and forest. Everybody has the image in their head of this tortoise walking across sand dunes like a camel with the pyramids in the background, and that couldn't be further from the truth. This tortoise is now endangered in its native habitat, and that is for the pet trade. 50 years ago, so many animals were taken from the wild to support the pet trade that they basically have endangered the native population of this animal.
Oh, he's a good boy. He's a good boy.
No biting, Dash.
When we first started rescuing tortoises a year ago, everybody asked, do they bite? And we would tell everybody, no, they don't bite. And we've never really encountered a tortoise that does bite.
Excuse me.
But we give so much love and so much attention to every single tortoise for the most part, every single day, that now we've noticed, you know what, they do bite, but he's not being aggressive.
Yeah, they're not biting out of aggression.
He's trying to tell me, yeah, you got something good.
Goes along with the don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Well, and you wonder, is this the tortoise version of a kiss?
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not saying it is, but animals do all kinds of different things. Like horses will curl their lips up and will nibble on you. You know, that's a sign of affection from a horse. So is he doing that to say, hey, I love you, you know? So the emotion question for tortoises is really open-ended, but I think it's kind of like space. It's unexplored territory. There's so much that we don't understand.
This is Mater. He came to us from Maryland. And as you can see, his features are much different than all the other sulcatas, and it was unfortunately due to the lack of care that he received. He was kept in a very small box inside of a bedroom. He, matter of fact, was a TikTok animal, right?
Yeah, during COVID, when all the TikTok videos were so popular with kids, and mainly the tortoises are in Asia, but the little kid, pre-teen, had fast, oh, I want a tortoise like that. So the parent got the tortoise, and then it lived in a cardboard box in the corner of the room for 4 years. When we got him, when we opened up the container, he was shipped to us overnight using FedEx.
And we were under the assumption that he was in good health and good to go. But upon opening the box, he had, you can see he has his beak, his bottom beak is out.
Looks like he has a underbite.
Underbite, yeah. So his beak was very overgrown.
So that stuck out like 2 inches.
Yeah, like 2 inches on his bottom jaw there. And then also we noticed his right front leg was lame. He would drag it. At that time, he would drag it. So upon further investigation, we saw that something had at some point restricted the top of his shoulder there. And we asked the previous owner, she didn't know anything, but the older children that would come and take him out every so often did say that he had found him with a piece of tarp, which is what they used as underlayment below the substrate. He had torn, the tarp apart and stuff, and it had got wrapped around his leg and was there for at least a week. I think it was there a lot longer because of the trauma that he sustained.
How like girls put hair ties around their wrists.
Yeah.
And you can see the line. So there was on his shoulder up there, there was a band that you could tell that, hey, something was around this.
And so we trimmed his beak down. It unfortunately was split right underneath the bottom. So we trimmed it down just enough to where now we can allow it to grow out a little bit, trim it back, grow out a little bit, trim it back, so that the last portion of the bottom part of his jaw there, it's very difficult to get the rest of it off while that's split. We're afraid it's going to split further. And so we just do it little by little and until we get past the split part, and then we can trim it back completely. But because of the malnourishment and the lack of care that he received, proper care he received, his jaw has shifted. And also it doesn't, because it's shifted, it doesn't align properly. So it's almost as if he has an underbite there now.
Does that pose any problems for eating?
At first it did. He was able to eat when the bottom portion of the beak was sticking out, but it wasn't a full bite like he's trying to take now on my finger.
And when he came to us, we have a video of it, he literally would hit his bottom beak on the ground or the dish and then open his mouth and just try to eat. And there was no way that he could eat because his mouth is 2 inches from the ground. But his mouth is hitting the ground, the bottom beak. We had never seen tortoise like that before. When we opened up the container, we were floored. We were like,
yeah, so he has some abnormal growths that are above his nose, his nares, that is not usual for a sulcata. His eyes back here have an abnormal growth pattern above them as well. And so,
when we got him, the googly-eyed goldfish with the big fantails,
yeah, that's
and their
what he
eyes
looked
are like bulbs. Okay. So his eyes were swollen and were like bulbs.
There we go.
They were literally like bubbles. And what that is we have later found out now, it's vitamin A deficiency, most likely.
For a long period of time.
So the top vets of the world still haven't been able to figure that out. But that's studies that they do. That's how under-examined tortoises in whole are. You have the most highly educated people that could be possibly looking at a situation with the tortoise, and there's just such a lack of information that they can't even figure it out yet. But more than likely, what they did was they did studies, and most of the turtles that had exhibited that bulging eye syndrome were vitamin A deficient. Yeah. And so that's what they
so he's gone, it's gone down dramatically
like
since,
tortoise.
Yeah.
When we got him, you couldn't help but, feel pity.
Yeah, it was sad. But for his sake of his arm, so we evaluated him when he got here and went, oh man. So we took him to the vet. She agreed with us as far as his shoulder didn't seem like anything was broken. It just seemed like the circulation had been cut off for too long. And so we told her, you know, that we had the ability to do some hydrotherapy with him. She agreed 100%, thought that was a great idea. When we first got him, he drug it. Now he's almost to the point where he's lifting to make that plant. So he has improved very well. And he is a very special boy to us. He's just amazing. And most people think, oh, what's wrong with his face? But he's absolutely the most handsome little guy I've ever seen. He has my heart big time. But and you see how personable he is, huh? He's just so cute. Just happy all the time. Doesn't matter what he's been through or anything. He just is so happy all the time. So he's a blessing.
He's happy.
Yeah.
There's really only one thing that we try to give every tortoise and turtle. Allow them to be a tortoise or a turtle.
Yeah.